Welcome, let's see how to assemble this MJöLNER build. MJöLNER is often a cornerstone of any build it's in. It triggers socketed lightning spells on hit with attack 4 times a second. It has only 3 sockets, so if you plan to trigger your main damaging ability, it has to be combined with the Squire Shield for 3 additional support gems. We have used Ball Lightning of Orbiting triggered on hit with Cyclone. The same Cyclone is also linked to cast when channeling Lightning Warp. With a setup like this, the build is extremely fast, can leech mana with Cyclone, and has a great trigger rate on account of Cyclone's high attack speed. In patch 3.24, the Archmage support gem has been reworked. It now simply grants damage based on your maximum unreserved mana. You no longer need to spend a lot of mana on linked spell to gain damage. That's great, as MJöLNER reduces the mana cost of its spell to 0 if it's triggered. HIEROPHANT can make great use of its vast mana pool to get 100% increased area of effect and a lot of maximum energy shield. The Indigon Helmet, Ivory Tower body armor, and Shaper's Touch Gloves are other staples of such builds. The helmet increases spell damage by up to 2000%. We've chosen Ball Lightning of Orbiting. You could use other similar lightning spells and it won't change a build in any major way, but the Ball Lightning of Orbiting has a fixed trigger rate, good DPS, scales well with AoE, and it lingers in one place, resulting in very high boss damage. You're relying mostly on high energy shield and arcane cloak to stay alive. The build can gain up to 15,000 energy shield and roughly the same amount of mana with the best items. Both of these are instantly recovered with leech. With Mage Blood, you're also resistant to elemental damage. The movement is uncoordinated, jittery, and erratic, but it's fast. Single target damage is great, even against mobile bosses. Some unique items, jewels, and jewelry can get very expensive, so it's not a cheap build. The build uses a lot of unique items, and only some of them have any resistances, so gearing up on a budget can be difficult unless you can find a reasonably cheap belt that will make your flasks, which should bear the burden of capping resistances, last indefinitely. You could even find a way to get the Trader Keystone if that would help. Indigon increases your spell damage as you spend more and more mana. You have a lot of unreserved mana that you can quickly spend with Arcane Cloak. Lightning spell socketed in MJöLNER, that is Ball Lightning of Orbiting, costs no mana if triggered, which it will be with Cyclone every quarter of a second. It will be your main damaging ability. The Squire is used to upgrade the MJöLNER setup with 3 additional support gems, making it a 6-link build. The Ivory Tower protects you from chaos damage, as it would normally penetrate your energy shield. It has quite a lot of mana and intelligence. Shaper's Touch Gloves provide you with all the required accuracy and grant extra mana and energy shield sourced from strength. If you have Whispers of Doom allocated, corrupt them for a chance for Elemental Weakness Curse on hit. Eyes of the Great Wolf with increased mana and attributes is one of the most expensive items, but having a copy with just maximum mana should be better than most other amulets. Astramentis is a very affordable item with tons of attributes. A good rare amulet with flat or increased attributes and maximum mana or resistances could be better. Mage Blood is used mainly to gain necessary elemental resistances and extra maximum elemental resistances from your magic flasks. Strength and mana on 2 split personality jewels socketed in a cluster jewel near Divine Shield, where the distance to the start is 60, will get you tons of these stats. You can socket Healthy Mind near Instability, and allocate Cruel Preparation to get additional maximum mana. Watcher's Eye. The most important is maximum energy shield sourced from maximum mana. It's one of Clarity mods. Lightning Penetration from Wrath is the second best upgrade. There are not that many parameters to pay attention to, just maximum mana, maximum energy shield, intelligence, and strength. All durability and damage are gained from these stats. You will of course need capped resistances and preferably high chaos resistance. On your boots, prioritize maximum mana, movement speed, and intelligence. Then seek strength, chaos resistance, and energy shield. For Eldritch mods, try to get movement speed, chaos resistance, and cooldown recovery rate for movement skills. We heavily recommend Mage Blood, but until you can get one, you'll have to use a rare Stygian Vice or Micro Distillery belt with a lot of elemental and chaos resistance, with as much maximum mana and attributes as you can afford. Make sure to include some flask modifiers, you don't want to run out of flask charges. We recommend an experimented base of a ring for more powerful suffixes, as you will need a lot of resistances and attributes here. You can of course use any other ring like amethyst or cerulean and get maximum mana as their prefix. Around 6 rare jewels will be used, not quite enough yet to make it an adorned build, but that is also a valid approach. Seek maximum mana, energy shield, attributes, and resistances. Scintillating Idea and Storm Drinker are the 2 best notables you can get here. We've used only 1 large cluster jewel, but if you plan to revise the passive skill tree, prioritize the outer jewel socket to fit more of these. Coruscating Elixir grants fire resistance, maximum fire resistance, and prevents you from dying instantly from any chaos damage that you take while you have no mana left, which is useful although it happens rarely. Topaz, Sapphire, Amethyst, and Quicksilver, or Quartz Flask, are the other ones you should use. These should grant you some additional elemental resistances, a chance to avoid being stunned, reduce the effect of curses on you, and increase your movement speed. The following setup is socketed in your body armor. Cyclone will trigger the MJöLNER setup, Lightning Warp, and allow you to move around while using it. Lightning Warp teleports you while you channel Cyclone, offering a more exciting playstyle and better mobility. It's also the mana spending ability that keeps the mana cost of all your spells at a high level. Link these two with Cast While Channeling, Mana Leech, Culling Strike, and less duration support gems. The following setup is socketed in MJöLNER and the Squire. Ball Lightning of Orbiting has an extremely high hit rate independent of cast speed, which you lack. This version of Ball Lightning spirals out of its cast location, which lets it hit more enemies around you consistently rather than firing out in a straight line. Archmage grants added damage based on maximum unreserved mana. Lightning Warp will cost you no mana to trigger, but it will gain bonus damage based on how much mana has been recently spent on Ball Lightning and Arcane Cloak via Indigon. Link it with Arcane Surge, slower projectiles, level 5 Awakened Lightning Penetration, and Controlled Destruction. Battle Mage's Cry improves your Cyclone's damage by harnessing the spell damage increase from Indigon and making it apply to attacks. Link it with Call to Arms, it triggers Battle Mage's Cry for you. Wrath is used for more spell damage and added spell damage to attacks. With Eternal Blessing support, you can cast Wrath off charge if it's your only mana reserving skill. Arcane Cloak quickly spends most of our current mana to fuel Indigon, and forms a protective barrier that absorbs most of the incoming damage. The more mana you spend while inside of the Sigil of Power, the more lightning damage is being added to your spells and attacks. Enemies inside the Sigil deal less damage at the final stage. Frostblink is a movement spell you can cast while channeling Cyclone. Link these 3 with increased duration support. You don't need Clarity to regenerate mana but to meet the condition for one of the best Watcher's Eye mods, so keep it at level 1. Discipline adds maximum ES and improves ES recharge rate. Link these 2 with Arrogance to reserve your life, which is not needed at all. Conductivity lowers the lightning resistance of your opponent. Cast it manually. Slay all 3 bandits for 2 additional passive skill points. For the Major God, we recommend Brine King for freeze immunity, reduced effective chill, and to not be bothered by multiple stuns. For the Major God, you could pick Aberrath, but since the build is not really affected by Ignite, Soul of Shikari seems like a great option too. The passive skill tree has this wonky shape to squeeze more stats from split personality jewels. Allocate maximum mana, elemental damage, intelligence, ES leech, and some energy shield. Your keystones are Elemental Overload, Iron Will, Pain Attunement, and Zealot's Oath. For masteries, allocate Attributes Mastery for 5% increased attributes, Elemental Mastery for a 25% chance to invert enemies' resistances, and Leech Mastery for 10% of Leech to apply instantly. That's all there is to it. Like the video and subscribe to the channel to not miss upcoming build guides. See you soon.